So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Doing a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and tonight I'm joined by Dirk Serries, and he's a musician who's been involved in many bands before that are most in the post-drone experimental type of music, and he has a new project right now called Loud as Giants, and they have a new EP coming out. I think it's already out on SoundCloud. There is Empty Home. So we're here to talk all about it and all that music. So first of all, Dirk, how are you tonight?
All good, thank you very much. The sun is shining finally in Belgium, so we are a little bit more happy now.
Oh yeah, I went to Belgium, but years ago, back in 2005. So yeah, where in Belgium are you located?
I'm a little bit away from Antwerp and closer to the border with Holland, with the Netherlands. So it's the north of Belgium. So it's most of the times it's gray, rainy, so
Mhm.
so we are very happy. Finally, the spring is coming. So it does things with the human mind.
Nice. So for this debut LP with Laura's Giants, you reunited with Justin Broadrick uh,
hmm
to record this music. And right now it's so people can listen to it where right now because this album, when is it going to be officially out?
So it's officially out since April 28th,
Mhm.
since last Friday. But of course, the label Consoling Sounds, which is a Belgium label. I mean, you can of course buy it directly from them, but digitally and streamable, it's through my Bandcamp at
Through
this
your
moment.
Bandcamp.
And
Okay.
yeah, and Justin Broderick will upload it also pretty soon. So
Okay. So if people want to listen to it, so uh, talk to me a little about your musical background because you've been in different bands since the 80s. So people that
yeah,
know you know your musical background.
Yeah, so I mean, I started in '84 as a solo musician, trying different things as a young kid. It's like you try to experiment with sounds because I was always, fascinated by music soundtracks, excuse me, film soundtracks. So, I went quite often as a kid to the movies with my father, and I really enjoyed the soundtracks they always had those movies. So I started to collect a few vinyls of soundtracks, and by an accident, one of the vinyls got stuck in a groove. So there was a kind of a lock groove thing, and that really blew my mind in a way because it sounded really nice. And from that moment on, I started to experiment with lock grooves and buying then my first synthesizer and moving on. So in the beginning, it was all very experimental. It's like quite industrial, a little bit noisy, because in '84 you didn't have the CD, you only had vinyl or tapes, and tapes were actually the medium you could actually afford as an independent smaller musician. And that's also where Justin Broderick comes from. That's where our connection is. So we both come from the early '80s cassette network, and there was a lot of experimentation with synthesizers, with voices, with different extra instruments like metal or scraping devices, all these, like very, very experimental. And that, but you try to move on, and then I got to buy myself a new synthesizer, a better synthesizer. So I got inspired by the music of Brian Eno, and got to work on ambient music. So that became the bigger part of my life. Actually, it's from 88, 89 till 2007. I worked under the name of Vidna Obmana, which means optical illusion in Serbo-Croatian language. And that really expanded a really big part of my life. And that's where also Justin Broderick got to know my music, and vice versa. I got to know his music. So, but we didn't meet up personally. So I was going through all my different projects, and from ambient on, I went to heavy drone. From heavy drone, I went to collaborate with drummers, with extra guitarists, with a vocalist. but at the same time, I was still doing solo work as well as Justin was. I mean, he had bands like Godflesh and Napalm Death and in all these bands, but still he was also doing solo music. And in a way, it is actually that it is what brought us together. So in short, it's like, because as I told you, it's from 84 I have been doing music, so it's a long time. So there's a lot of this, a lot of releases out. But it same goes with Justin. So in a way, it's parallel. Our lives have been parallel to the moment we started, we met each other. And that's how, the collaboration became. But if I can really say, okay, I mean, I have been in this band and this band, it would be a little bit too much to tell you, because I did a lot. So because I like experimentation. I like to, how must I say, also, blend genres. I don't want to be like, oh, he's an electronic musician and he's a metal musician and no, I really like when everything comes together and you create something new. And that is always has been my motivation. Even now, even after all these years, I still look for new things to learn, to experiment, to work with. So it's a constant evolution, and that's also what the collaboration with Justin is.
So on this LP in particular, what does Justin do and you do? Like, how do you collaborate with this music?
Well, you see, we met each other personally on a tour. He was promoting his JESU project, and I was on the same label as he was. And they proposed like a sort of a tour where I would support JESU. And in the tour van, we started to talk about experiences and our history and so forth. And then we found out that we actually knew each other's music already for such a long time, but we never met. And somehow it clicked. Somehow we felt, hey, we walked the same path, although different genres, but we did the same things, like the cassette network. We did it all by ourselves. And then we started to collaborate. He even started to play on the intro and the outros during my support during the tour. So we started to really be, spontaneously started to work together. And then we did one album. First, we did an album where we actually combined our two projects together. So it was a very strict, organized project. So, it's like, okay, you have your project, I have my project, and then we bring this together and we do a collaborative album. But now with a lot of giants, it has been totally different, because we have been talking about this for years, but never were able to start working on it because we both have incredible busy schedules. But during the lockdown, during the COVID, everybody, unfortunately had more time. It seems like everything dropped at a certain point. So suddenly we got that time and we said, okay, what about now? And we did it, and we just exchanged material. I sent them a couple of, stuff I had, more a few landscapes, soundscapes, really ebb and flow things. And then he came back with a couple of rhythms, a couple of guitar lines. And actually it came together very fast, because at a certain point in the process, and it's all over mail, of course, and sometimes calling and sometimes WhatsApp, is that we actually came to a halt, like, oh, these are really 4 really nice pieces. So what should we add more? Should we add vocals? Should we add extra layers of guitar? But actually we felt this is it. We don't need to do anything at all. So it's like what we did in the first attempt to bring together was perfect. So and that's why the 4 pieces are quite minimal in progress as well, in change as well, because we deliberately felt it was really not, was for us necessary to actually create these, 4 segments of music we actually like, because it's inspired by music we learned or listened to in the past, and at the same time something we did spontaneous, because we didn't talk about it either. We just sent each other stuff, and okay, I did this on your stuff, so what do you think about this? And then, from one moment to another, we hardly discussed it. You couldn't say that, oh, no, Justin, I didn't like this, or Justin say, oh, I can't feel anything with what you sent me. It was just a natural, really a very natural process. So that was really nice.
Okay. And So when you're working on this music for this LP, how with drone and experimental, how do you approach it? Uh, like what instruments did you use for this in particular?
Most of it was guitars through amps or directly on the computer. We used drum computers, and we used a couple of processors to actually, how you call that, treat it and shape it a little bit more. But
Mhm.
that's it. It wasn't. There's actually, we didn't use any kind of, like complex, you know, synthesizers or all these processes weren't really, included. So it was straightforward. Actually, it was quite straightforward. Guitars, drum computers, and a little bit of treatment to get it everything together, and glued together, and that's it. So it actually, it's one of the few collaborations I did that went so smooth, to be honest. In
Okay.
separate studios, in separate studios, because that's it. If you're together in the studio, it's a totally different kind of experience and a totally different kind of process. But when you're actually separated, you don't know what the other will expect from you, and vice versa. So it's always a little bit of a gamble, But it went really smooth.
Okay. So why did you title the name Loud as Giants?
Well, it came up to me as, it's very strange because the music is actually not that loud or not that really that strong or extreme, because it
No,
has
it's more mellow. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, it's more melancholic, it's more mellow. So but I felt that it's a nice contradiction in a way, because we both like us. I mean, we both like loud music, and we like to play loud as well when we play live. But at the same time, I felt that it is like a tongue-in-cheek thing, It's like loud as giants. Of course, giants, most of the times, if there's a giant and if there is a existed giant, probably he will be loud. But for us, for me, it was a kind of like an idea. Oh, why don't we call it this? Because it's a kind of a humorist approach to who we are, but at the same time it maybe disappoints the expectation people would have, because a lot of giants, they would think, oh, this is going to be a full on very noisy, very loud, very aggressive record, but it isn't. So it's a bit of a tease, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the name Empty Homes, what
Mm.
does it represent to you?
Well, that was chosen by Justin because, of course, we did it during the COVID period, the both lockdowns we had. We worked on it, and in a way, if you look at it, people were sitting at home, but at the same time, there was a sign of a sort of a seclusion, a sort of isolation, a sort of abandonedness, because you didn't see them outside. Nobody walked outside because there were people were in doubt. People didn't know what to do. People, oh, is it safe to go out? Is it safe to, or should we just stay in? And actually, it's a kind of visualization of how you felt when you looked outside your window. You knew that people were, living in their house during lockdown because they were not, free to go out, but it looked still empty because
Mhm.
everything, it seems like life stopped at a certain point,
Correct.
and that's where Justin said, oh, I feel like empty homes would be really nice because, it gives that kind of feeling that we were in isolation, but at the same time, we knew that people were in the houses, but all in their own little private, life, not going out, being probably some of them being scared, being very, very unsure of what is happening, because for all of us, it was completely new. It was unknown territory, the virus. So it has been for us like a blessing, because at the same, at that time we were able to actually work on the album, but it gave us also that kind of feeling that we felt that an album of noise or power wouldn't be appropriate for what we felt at that time. So that's why the music is a little bit more a homage to the older scene, the 80s scene, but at the same time, we try to, create something warm, something, that people could listen to loud or soft, enjoy it or be provoked by it, but something that really isn't really in your face all the time. You can interpret it at any way you want to, and that's really important what we wanted to create with the album.
Okay. And so people can buy this directly from you on Bandcamp. Is this music that you would like to play live, or is this more of a studio type of project?
Well, that's a good question, because indeed it was created in the studio, in our separate studio. So you have, can you imagine when you're working at home, then you have your own little habitat, you can take a coffee, you can do a break, whatever, you have your own momentum, you have your own rhythm. If so, it's different when you come together as a live duo. Then of course you need to create that on the spot together, and we didn't do that yet. So it's a big challenge, but at the same time, it's pretty intriguing and pretty interesting to see what if we do this live. So we will play live this month on the Dunk Festival, which is a post-rock festival in Belgium, and we will premiere the album there. So it's going to be
When is that concert?
May 18th.
May 18th. Okay.
Yeah.
18th. So it's gonna be your debut. You need to practice first, of course.
Well, I mean, we have been just discussing the ideas for how to recreate it. But like I said before to other people, I think it's going to be more like a sort of an open platform for us both. How must I say, it will incorporate elements from the album, but at the same time, I'm sure it will sound different as well, because it's something you can't recreate live on stage that precisely like how the album sounds. So it will be a kind of a sort of a reinterpretation of it. So it's going to be different.
There will be like more experimentation, like you're jamming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There will be more like I think there will be, because we both are guitarists, so there will be more guitars present. I think also the rhythms will be way more powerful than how we mix them and master them for the album, because we did deliberately made them a little bit more lo-fi, just to keep it a little bit more in reference to the older 80s, style of new wave and shoegaze, all this. So live it will be very dynamic and very loud, I guess. But musically, it's going to be pretty interesting, because I think, again, it could be like, if it would be recorded, it could easily be album number 2, so to speak, because it could be that it turns out to be totally something different. So that's the nice thing about it. You're not going to play live just the songs from the first minute to the last minute, but you go there together on stage and you will see what happens, and it's dangerous at the point. It's scary sometimes, but at the same time, it gives you a lot of artistic freedom too. So looking forward.
Okay, yeah, sounds interesting. And is that a music festival, like a rock festival, or
No, they already are, I think, if I'm correct, they are doing their 10th or maybe 8th year. And it started out as a very small post-rock festival. And it grew, and then they became a bigger festival on a really big piece of land with different tents, with all different stages. And then they turned also into a label. And now they are based in Ghent, which is one of the bigger cities in Belgium, where there's a really beautiful venue with different stages. And that's where they are doing it now for the 2nd year. So most of it's a post-rock festival, but they are also doing Godflesh this year. So Godflesh is playing, a couple of other ones, more solo musicians with more like, there's a cellist playing. So it's expanding. It's the genres a little bit more, but it all remains, most of the times remains instrumental.
Okay, yeah, sounds interesting.
Yeah, really interesting festival. Absolutely.
Okay, so Dirk, I'll put for people who want to check out the music, I'll put the link so they can check out Loudest Giants and some of your other work. So,
Super.
anything you would like to say to people who are watching this on what to expect from you in the future?
Well, I mean, I'm active on various levels because I still do, of course, my ambient music. I still have a project called Fearful's Burning, which is the heavier drone one. I still want to do a really new album with them, with a drummer and an extra guitarist. And then I also do free jazz and free improv. So that's another side of my life, is that I'm just like a guitarist who plays with saxophone players and drummers and and piano players and so forth. So I'm active on different levels. But if I can recommend something to the listener, it's the album that Justin and I did, because how must I say, I'm very proud of the album, because it is, like you said yourself, it's mellow. And if there's something over all these years I really stay truthful to, is that I don't want to be the guy who creates aggressive music per se, or very noisy music. I always have been somebody who really likes to incorporate a little bit of mood, a little bit of melancholy, and I'm very happy that with the Loves of Giants first album, is that we went that path, because by now, the album is out. We got some reviews. People, responded to me. People I know personally, friends, fans, also from Justin's side, he told me people are reacting very positively to on this album, and that to be honest, it was a little bit of a surprise, because I was afraid a little bit that they would maybe find it a little bit too mellow, in a way. But it seems that it's being embraced by a lot of positive reactions, and that I really am very happy with, because it's that album that it's an album that originated out of friendship, and because we just felt that we needed to collaborate, because we were interested in each other's music. So we felt somehow, oh, we should do this. And we met numerous times after the tour we did, so we became really good friends. And what is better to make music with a good friend, and then that the music is is being released, and that the people like it, so that's the thing. Otherwise you wouldn't release stuff, eh? You would keep it for yourself, if you don't look for that kind of experience. And so therefore I'm very happy, and hopefully the people who are watching you with the podcast can really maybe be interested and intrigued and curious, and go and listen to the album.
Awesome. Yeah. So Dirk, I want to thank you for taking some time to chat with me about Latest Giants and other type of music. So people, the album is out now. I'll put the link so people can check it out. And if you're in Belgium on May 18th, go and check the music out live.
Yeah.
So you can hear it for the first time live. Like, music live is best. So
super.
Until next time, people, this is Hector.
Thank you.
We'll do the couch, and I'll see you right here on the couch. Thank you and good night.